Hello and welcome to Cyber UK TV. I'm Eleanor Fairford. I'm the Deputy Director in NCSE for Incident Management, and I'm joined by Jeff. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Jeff White, and I'm an author and investigative journalist.
Great. So for the purposes of today, we thought we would pick up on the discussion that we began in Stream B Session 3 earlier on this morning, looking at some of the topics that you have been covering in your recent book that is due out soon. Remind me, what is your book and when is it due out, Jeff?
The book's called Rinsed. It's about money laundering and how technology is changing the sort of money laundering enablers around cybercrime, and it's out in June 13th.
Great, good to know. Thank you for that. So you brilliantly ran us through the copious amounts of research that you had undertaken for your book, and one of your core stories that you run through in the book. Perhaps you could just sort of talk us through like the main premise. I mean, from my perspective, I really took away the importance of money laundering to enable cybercrime. Like, you cannot do good cybercrime or good ransomware attacks or other hacks unless you've got a way of getting the money out the fire, and that's basically kind of how it works, right?
Precisely so. I mean, whether you're looking at traditional crimes like sort of street drug dealing where you get cash, or whether you're looking at ransomware, more advanced crimes, fundamentally you get money at the end of it. Now, the idea is, well, you spend the money, but the problem is you accumulate so much of this money that it becomes unsafe. If you stash it in cash somewhere, or if your Bitcoin wallet is vulnerable, somebody's going to steal it from you, or the bank's going to ask questions. So you're reliant on this sort of network of enablers who will say, okay, I will take your massive wad of money, I will wash it of any connection to the crime. So even if you get convicted of the crime, let's say it's drug dealing, you do 5 years in prison, don't worry, when you get out, your money will be here. You get caught for a computer hacking offense, you do a few years in prison, when you get out, your money's here. And the cops can't touch it because they can't prove it was linked to the crime. That's what you're looking for in a money laundering network. And it enables not just cybercrime and fraud, but also, as I talked about, cartel drug dealing and prostitution and lots of other organised crimes. That
is absolutely fascinating and really important, I guess, for law enforcement to try and, I mean, with great difficulty, get after the hidden tracks behind this money and how to find ways to be able to seize and link it back to the crime itself, just as you say, right?
And that's interesting. So picking up on that point, I talk a lot about cryptocurrency in the book and in the talk that I did at Cyber UK. Cryptocurrency is interesting because, of course, it's traceable. All crypto transactions happen on a thing called a blockchain, which shows you literally where the money went. It's like the bank's books have been thrown open. And people say, well, crypto's all traceable. Yes, it is. Tracing is not the same as freezing and not the same as recovering. So you can trace all you like, but at a certain point, well done, you know where the money is. Now you've got to stop it moving anywhere else and try and get it back. And those two other steps are not as easy as the tracing often.
That's really fascinating. So in terms of the story that you told us this morning and the heart of the activities in your book, it's North Korea, isn't it? That features as a state in your story, and it's as you point out, like North Korea, or at least as those of us in the cyber community, North Korea is kind of really punching above its weight in terms of cyber and achieving all sorts of goals, particularly financial. How would you characterize? Are they particularly skilled on the sort of the laundering side too? How are they buying their nukes out of Bitcoin? How does that work?
Well, this is the allegation against North Korea, of course, that deprived of income thanks to sanctions, it's put its government hackers on the send for money. And actually, North Korea has a long history of getting its overseas people, whether it's diplomats or whoever, to bring in hard currency to the country because it needs money. And so the idea is that hackers are now being sort of tasked with that. In terms of how they sort of go about this and how they launder the money, what's been fascinating is the allegations of North Korean cybercrime I've looked into. So often, time and again, they do the hacking they were accused of doing, but then off the back of that, they're working with other people, other networks to launder the money, to pull the money out, to move it around. And what's interesting is for a country like North Korea, I think I had this idea when we started doing the podcast, and I think a lot of people have this idea that the stolen money, alleged to have been stolen, comes back to North Korea and Kim Jong-un rolls around on a bed of banknotes or something. The thing is, there's no point bringing the money back to North Korea. Well, there's nothing to buy.
Yeah.
The weapons parts, the cognac, the Mercedes cars, they're not in North Korea. They're in other places. So what you want is when you steal the money, and it's true of a lot of organised crime, you want it liquid. You want to be able to move it where you need it. So for a country like North Korea, let's say there's somebody in Frankfurt who's got access to particular knowledge about how you build a particular missile system. You need to pay that person off and bribe them. So you need to move the money to Frankfurt, and you need to have it local so you can get it out and pay that person. Well, crypto is fantastic for that. You've got this slush fund of crypto that you've stored that you can move around the world and move to wherever you need it. Ball bearings in Argentina, move the money there. Nuclear secrets in Frankfurt, move the money there. Pay off somebody so you can buy some dodgy Mercedes in Singapore, move the money there. The money's liquid and it can move anywhere. You can do that with traditional banking, but it's harder because they're going to keep an eye on it. With crypto, it's a global slush fund that you can move anywhere you need it.
That is really fascinating, thank you. And I think I remember stories from a few years ago about arrests of money mules, and this was presumably at the point at which it had been made, liquid. But that was all part of the North Korean cybercrime activity, and it was just as you describe it, was the effort to get it to the right place.
Exactly so, yeah. I mean, one of the things that again North Korea is accused of doing, but other high achieving cybercrime groups you might say do, is what you might call jurisdictional leverage. You're trying to commit your crime in as many jurisdictions as possible so that the different law enforcement authorities and forces of officialdom in those different countries are going to have to struggle to work together. So one of the hacks we talk about was a hack on a bank in India. Money from that bank was effectively pulled out of cash points and ATMs in 29 different countries around the world. Well, the Indian police then go to 29 different countries and they have to find the contact details. They have to make contact with them in the language of the country. So Indian police have to contact Japanese police. They have to contact Turkish police. Immediately there's a language barrier. There's then on top of that a jurisdictional barrier. How much does a Turkish cop want to help out an Indian cop at the end of the day? The cyber criminals know this. Getting your money globally and extracting it globally makes it so much harder for law enforcement to keep up with you because they've all got to cooperate together. The hackers, on the other hand, their cooperation was all done over WhatsApp, and they were able to coordinate all of these ATM withdrawals within a 2-hour window. Can police forces around the world cooperate within a 2-hour window? No.
Amazing.
So the hackers have the cooperation they could do quickly and instantly. The law enforcement agencies around the world struggle to take action jointly as quickly.
Great. Well, look, I think we were really very lucky at Cyber UK to be able to hear the sort of advance insights into your book and to understand some of that kind of work that you have to go to pull on all of these threads and pull together this really complex global picture, and I think probably a really invaluable contribution to the understanding of the cybercrime scene and how it all fits together. So I know that I'm sure you'll have a very ready audience for your book, and certainly a lot of Cyber UK people I'm sure will be part of that. So huge thanks to you for coming along today, sharing your insights and helping us to sort of better understand that murky world of cybercrime a bit more. So thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.
It's been really good.